Have you ever wondered why some people can make more money in a single day than others earn in a whole year? This overview delves into what poverty and inequality are, how they are assessed, what causes them, how they affect economies and communities, and what can be done about them. Imagine peeling an onion. Each layer reveals deeper causes, ranging from individual access to education to the structure of the global economy. Poverty is defined as a lack of resources to meet fundamental human requirements such as food, shelter, and healthcare. There are two major types. Absolute poverty is like a set line in the sand, e.g., living on less than $1.90 per day. Fall below it, and fundamental survival is jeopardized. Relative poverty refers to how you compare to others in your culture. Even if you have food and shelter, you may be denied opportunity or dignity. Consider attending a concert. Absolute poverty is when you can't afford a ticket. Relative poverty is when you're in the cheap seats, so far back you can't see the stage. Common measurements include the head count ratio, the number of impoverished people, the poverty gap, how far below the poverty line individuals live, and the multidimensional poverty index, which combines health and education indicators. Income inequality refers to the flow of money, such as wages, salaries, and earnings. Wealth inequality refers to the stock of assets, including property, land, stocks, and savings. Economists frequently utilize techniques such as the Lorenz curve and Gini coefficient, where 0 represents perfect equality and 1 represents excessive disparity. Wealth inequality is almost always greater than income inequality because, much like compound interest in a savings account, wealth grows on itself. In Pakistan, for example, the top 10% hold around 60% of total wealth. Consider money to be like water from a faucet with a consistent flow each month. Wealth represents the bucket that collects that water. The larger the bucket, the more water, and thus returns that may be collected over time. Despite being separate, they are similar to two sides of the same coin. High inequality hinders poverty reduction by disproportionately benefiting the wealthy. Persistent poverty makes it difficult for individuals to advance in the economy, perpetuating inequality. Economists illustrate this with the poverty growth inequality triangle, which emphasizes that poverty alleviation is dependent not only on growth, but also on how evenly that growth is distributed. Globally, income differences between countries have reduced slightly due to fast-growing economies such as China and India. However, within countries, inequality has frequently increased, implying that the rich and poor in each country are becoming increasingly disparate. Money disparity is particularly extreme. The world's richest 1% has more money than the poorest half of humanity combined. Consider a ladder. The top rungs have risen quicker than the bottom, stretching the ladder itself. In developing countries, inequality and poverty are closely linked. According to studies, even when economies improve, poverty does not decrease significantly if the advantages disproportionately benefit the wealthy. In Pakistan, the wealthiest 10% own the majority of assets, while the poorest 60% own less than 1/10. That's like having one student hold 6 out of 10 books, while the others must share the other 4. Economic growth helps to combat poverty, but only if the benefits of prosperity are widely shared. The Kuznets curve famously argues that inequality rises as countries industrialize, when some people become richer quicker, then reduces as social safety nets grow. However, real-world data reveal more convoluted trajectories, with some countries remaining stuck at high inequality levels. Unequal access to education, healthcare, and skills hinders upward mobility. Thomas Piketty popularized the concept of R greater than G, which states that returns on capital exceed economic growth. Ownership of land, property, and financial assets widens disparities since they create compounding profits. Simply put, money breeds money. It's similar to planting trees. The earlier and larger your initial tree, the more shade and fruit you get later. Colonial histories, unfair land distribution, and weak institutions have resulted in long-standing disparities. Discrimination based on gender, ethnicity, or class continues to limit access to opportunities. If an economy were a race, These are the challenges some runners confront before the starting gun goes off. Globalization and technology promote growth, but they frequently benefit capital owners and skilled workers the most. Poor individuals are vulnerable due to inadequate social protection and regressive taxation. People are unable to save or invest due to a lack of financial inclusion. A fair comparison is that a rising tide raises all boats, but some individuals only have leaky rafts. High inequality reduces the poverty-reducing effect of growth. Poverty, in turn, reduces investment in education and opportunities, trapping families in low-income cycles. The Great Gatsby curve clearly demonstrates this. Countries with high inequality tend to have lower social mobility, meaning that the affluent stay rich and the poor stay poor. When wealth concentrates at the top, demand falls as the wealthy save more and spend less. It's like filling a car with gas but just filling one cylinder. It won't run well. Rising inequality frequently drives low-income people to borrow solely to keep their living standards stable, resulting in fragile credit booms. When millions of people lack access to quality education and healthcare, economies suffer in terms of creativity, productivity, and entrepreneurial activity. Trust erosion. Inequality can undermine societal cohesion and promote animosity. Political capture. The wealthy gain more power, influencing legislation in their favor. Ethical dimensions. True development is more than just economic progress. It is also about fairness and dignity. When the wealthy have excessive power, democracy begins to resemble a poker game in which only a few individuals hold all of the chips. Children born into poverty endure severe uphill challenges, including substandard schooling, inadequate nutrition, and dangerous homes. Meanwhile, wealthy families pass on goods, education, and networks. It's similar to starting a marathon. Some people start miles ahead with superior shoes and training, while others race barefoot from behind. Promote inclusive growth that favors low-income individuals. Invest in education, skills, and health to increase production. To create more opportunities, support small enterprises and rural development. Growth is the engine, but fairness is the steering wheel. Progressive taxation, taxing higher incomes more, and cash transfers to the poor help even the playing field. Social safety nets such as health insurance, pensions, and unemployment benefits promote stability. Fair minimum wages guarantee that workers participate in growth. According to one study, raising the minimum wage can sometimes be more effective at reducing inequality than increasing taxes. Policies that promote homeownership, savings, and entrepreneurship help people accumulate wealth. Financial inclusion provides access to banking and credit, allowing the poor to save and invest. Taxes on inheritance or wealth can counteract unregulated capital accumulation. Imagine money as a garden. Rules should ensure that everyone has the opportunity to plant, water, and nurture their own patch. Strengthen the rule of law, property rights, and anti-corruption frameworks. Address discrimination in education, hiring, and finance. Reform the global arrangements that allow profits to be hidden in tax havens. These are the rules of the game, and fair regulations matter more than how quickly participants can run. Invest in high-quality data to understand who benefits from growth. Use multidimensional poverty indices that consider health, education, and access to services. Ensure that aid reaches people in most need rather than a small group of politically connected individuals. Consider trying to unbake a cake. The ingredients, wealth, power, institutions are already mixed. Automation and AI replace regular employment, increasing the gap between skilled and unskilled workers. Global trade can benefit some countries but harm others. Climate change disproportionately affects the poor, exacerbating poverty and inequality. In essence, today's global economy is like a treadmill. If you stop running, investment in skills and resilience, you will fall behind. Poverty refers to a lack of resources, while inequality refers to how enough is distributed. Reducing inequality can be equally effective as increasing growth and alleviating poverty. unequal access to finance, education, and opportunity are key drivers, rather than luck or effort alone. Inequality can not only harm fairness, but also damage economies and destabilize societies. The most effective models incorporate growth, redistribution, empowerment, and inclusion. As the globe faces automation, climate change, and global wealth transfers, the most pressing concern is to ensure that development does not leave people behind. A fair economy is one in which everyone has a fair chance of earning their portion of the pie rather than having the same slice. Want to understand more about how the world really works, from money and markets to inequality and policy? Subscribe and join us as we break down complex ideas into stories that actually make sense.